did go down to Miami, obviously Luke, even then, before Two Live Crew, was very entrepreneurial, it seems. So did you guys early on, when you were just starting to go down there to do these shows, did you end up talking to him that early about business, or did that happen after 5 or 6 trips, or what?
Yeah, it happened after a few trips going back and forth. When we went down there to do the show, we didn't even negotiate a price to do the show. We just went. He said he was gonna fly us out there, get us hotel rooms, you know what I'm saying, to do the show and this, that, and other. We didn't talk about no money. He ain't talk about no money either. Come to think about it, he didn't ask us what we wanted or any of that. He could just tell that we were just totally green at what it was that was happening. And you know, because like I said, he had been dealing with a lot of other people in New York, dealing with the booking agencies up there, booking you know, guys, you know, Tilo Rock, Divine Sounds, Mantronics, all of these guys was coming to Florida to do shows. So he was in the zone of doing that already. We were just the next ones in the queue that he reached out to see to do a show with. So they got our record hot in the marketplace, and we, you know, you come down and do a show, and that was that. You know, we did, you know, 2 shows, one on a Friday and one on a Saturday, and we went back home. I think I stayed there for like a week with him, just hanging out, because at that time I was already out of the military. My date of separation had came up. We had went out there in August. My date of separation was in August, but Chris and Yuri had to go back. They were still in the military. So I was living at my mother's house at that time, going back and forth to Miami. We went down there for New Year's. Still didn't ask for what we was gonna get in the show or anything like that. Just going, just to be going. And you know, we doing our little record on stage and stuff, and it just seemed so genuine and so authentic. You know, it didn't seem like, you know, of course, like I say, I didn't have an understanding of what to ask for, what not to ask for. It was just the opportunity of being able to say that we traveled somewhere and did something. So, like in that later that year, 86, like around February 86, we decided to do an appreciation record for Luke Nim and the Ghetto Style DJs. And that's where the record Throw the D shows up, because it was a dance they was doing at the parties. So, you know, like I said, at that time, Luke and them, they wasn't making no records. They wasn't even thinking about making no records. They would make up all kind of dances and stuff at the parties and stuff that they did, but they weren't thinking about recording no records. So there was some local guys that came up with a record called the Ghetto Jump, but that was one of their dances that they created at the party. So they was playing that record, and they were trying to do stuff with these guys, and you know, it didn't really work out with, you know, continually trying to do stuff with them. So when the Throw the D dance, you know, we're bearing witness to it being done, and just the culture of Miami was just way different than anything that I'd ever knew about. You know, Chris might have been lightweight understanding of it because he's from Trinidad. So, you know, he's an island person. So all of the kind of different records and things that they was doing down there, he was kind of more accustomed to it because they played a lot of reggae and this, that, and the other, you know what I'm saying? And so Chris was up on that aspect. So when we did the actual record, we came back to March Air Force Base. There was a studio called, I think it was called Studio One in Riverside, and we recorded the Throw the D record, you know, based off of what it is that we seen with the dancing and this, that, and the other. And, you know, all of the Dolomite scratching and all that stuff came from the fact that I used to make mixtapes on the bass, and I would scratch up the Dolomite stuff and Fred Sanford and Aunt Esther and all of that stuff on these little mixtapes, you know, but I hadn't really thought about, you know, using that stuff in records for real until this Throw the D song came along, because it totally fit in with the Miami narrative of how they was at the parties and all of that. So that's how the comedy stuff became an issue of being, you know, part of our shtick of it was kind of like it was just based off of what we seen on that one record. I mean, on that one dance.
And then is that when things gravitated more toward the dance side even before it started to get profane? Is that when Yuri decided to leave, or what happened?
Well, he decided to leave based off of the fact that I guess it was, too many people that was wanting to clamor around. I guess us bragging that we had a record on the bass, it made more people want to be involved, and he felt like everybody shouldn't be involved. And, why are we doing, you guys are going to the studio and ain't telling me that y'all going into the studio. I just looked at it like we was just doing stuff. We wasn't really overly organized or anything like that. We didn't have, no contracts with each other. We was just doing stuff. We were in the military. We was just doing jobs. You know what I'm saying? We was doing regular jobs. I was the only one that was out. I was, still, able to come back and forth to the base and see these guys and all of that. But we were just doing stuff and just was hoping that, something could actually be something. It was really more a hobby than actually doing something that generated income. We hadn't seen no money before.
Right.
Out of all of the stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then when we did the record with Luke, the record started taking off based off of the fact that they the ones who came up with the Throw the D dance. So it was, a major amplification of what was going on in Miami. And at that time in Miami, there were no rap records. MC Shy D had a couple of records that was being distributed by Foresight. But beyond that, there was really nobody in the marketplace that really had records that was actually like marquee making records. You know what I mean? This guy, MC-Eazy-E, that was out of the same company with Shy D, the guy that owned Foresight, MC-Eazy-E, is his son. So he did electronic sounding records. Had Bass Rock Express and a couple of other things. But that was before it actually became a so-called genre of music. It was just, the stuff that was going on in Florida at that time was like records that were already a record somewhere else, and there was an offshoot of what that record was.
Okay.
So like, say for instance, Bass Rock Express is off of Trans Europe Express. So it's like offshoot songs of something else. It was never no original stuff that was really being done in that way.
Right. So then, back before we get back to where we are now, I wanted to say, when you were doing the stuff with McCullough, since you put out only a couple of things there, did you literally only go to the office like 2 or 3 times, or did you go there several times?
Maybe like 4 or 5 times. We would, can we get some more records to take back to the base? Stuff like that. They give us, a box of records was 50 records. They give us 100 records. Go ahead go ahead and take them, because they know that they should be used as promotional goods. And the funny thing about McCullough, they were thoroughly self-contained. I mean, right there was the office, the pressing plant. They could get mastered right in there. It was like a full-fledged operation. So if they got records as a return, all they would do is they had a stamper that would crush the inside of the label, so it would be like a big hole, like a donut in it, and then just crush the rest of the vinyl and reuse the vinyl. So it was they were just totally winning.
Wow. Now, did you see like Lonzo Williams up there ever, or Eazy-E or Jerry Heller?
Yeah, matter of fact, I seen Lonzo and his people up there, and they was hot about something. They had some one big dude, bodyguard type dude or whatever, and I remember he hit Don McMillan's desk so hard that the desk shook, and Don just sitting up there like, "You better not put your hands on me. You can be mad all you want, but you better not put your hands on me." So I bear witness to little stuff like that, but I didn't know to what degree or why they was upset. I didn't really know. I don't know if they was coming up there to get paid, and they was bullshitting them about getting paid and all of that stuff. I didn't know that part of the movie at that time. I was just up there trying to pick some records up and go back to the base.
So then how did the business discussion with you and Luke, you guys and Luke start to either try to help you find a label or to him to start his own label? How did that work?
Well, that's it's funny that you say that because when we was down there, I was a big Pretty Tony fan. You know, when I hear music and all the records that he had out, the dance party sounding records that he had. So Luke actually took us around over there to where he was, and we took some pictures over there. They let us hear the new Trenier record that he was working on, and this and that, and they were lightweight interested in wanting to work with us. But like I said, we was all the way in California at that time, and you know, it did. I guess for him, it didn't make any sense to do it because at the time when we did the Throw the D record, we didn't know who was going to put the record out. So Luke took the record around to all of the different little offshoot record companies that was doing these, you know, makeshift records, and they didn't want, nobody wanted the record. So he decided to press the record up himself. And, you know, we thought of the thing, Luke Skywalker Records. At that time, Marquise had started working with us right after the record had got finished. I knew Marquise from Riverside. He would, you know, he would be in rap battles. That's how I know about him. And then he was also a friend of Rodney O. They had a group called the Caution Crew when they were in, you know, in high school. So Mark had actually made a record before I did. So, you know, and I told him that if there's any chance of us doing anything down the road, that I'll hook you up. I want you to be a part of what it is that we're doing. So when Yuri left the group, stopped messing with things, I reached out to him. He was all the way back in New York with family in Rochester, and he caught a flight and came back out to California because his mom lived in California anyway. And we started working on different records and things like that, you know, because we already knew that we had to connect with Luke in Miami to go back and forth and do stuff. So, and the way that the business started, everything was always on me. I asked Luke, would he be my manager? Because I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know that he didn't know a whole bunch, but I could tell by what it was that he was doing. He knew way more than me, and we were having a successful situation with each other. Very cordial. He was always great towards me, you know. So I asked him, you know, would you you know, manage us? And he said, yeah, let's do it. So he start, you know, taking the records around, and you know, he start, you know, going to seminars and different things about learning about the music business. You know, he's taking me along with him to learn with him, but I'm bullshitting and not going to the meetings. I'm out chasing girls while he's in there, you know, in the seminars learning what it is that he needs to learn. But he never, you know, to this day, he never called me out about that. He never, you know, said, hey, man, what the fuck are you doing, man? We're up here not to be bullshitting, you know, we're up here to be doing. He never went that route with me. But he was 4 years older than me, so he probably just looked at it like, you know, I'm gonna learn this shit. You know, the guy knows how to do what I need him to do, so maybe he don't really need to be in here with this stuff. So he was always on the business aspect of what it was that was going on. You know, not necessarily probably for us, but for himself, because he was already an entrepreneur that was, you know, trying to make some things happen. But he just didn't think that, you know, he would be coming into the record business.
And so, based on what you had seen from people in England, in California, and now going to Miami, how would you describe what the ghetto style DJs and Luke were doing versus what you had seen in different parts of the world?
I thought they was backwards. I really did, because the kind of DJing that they were doing wasn't the DJing that I was seeing other people do. You know, they're pulling the fader down and talking over the records and bring the fader back up. And then what they would do, what the thing with them was a guy being a personality in the party. So if, you know, if they play Rock the Bells, for instance, right? You know, they would change up the words to the song. You know, they'll pull the fader down and say they little shit in the space of them turning the music down, and then bring the record back in when, you know, for whatever catchphrase that was on the actual record. So they would switch up. That was what made their DJ style a particular entity. So it was, everybody would know the words to the song, but if you switched up the words in a certain slick way, that gave you a little more prominence in the actual party. So that's what kind of stuff they was doing. They didn't know nothing about hardly no scratching, none of that stuff. They was just totally off the grid when it came to that. They may have got fascinated when guys from New York would come and do the stuff. They didn't, you know, but they never were fascinated enough to want to learn it. None of the ghetto style DJs guys was like that. All they would do, they'd put the record on, you know, cue it up, they'll listen in the headphones and find where it is and stop it and let it be right there. And then when it comes on, hey, we about to do this thing. And then they'll just start the record off like that. They wouldn't even push the record with their hands. It would just be, you know, them queuing it up, stopping the record, and it'd just be right there at 9 o'clock. As soon as it kicks on, and then that's it. So that's the kind of DJing they were doing. So I really thought that they was ass backwards, you know, with what it was they was doing, you know. And I hadn't been to any other southern states or cities or any of that. So, you know, if that's what all of these motherfuckers is doing down here, this might be the best place for us to be able to expound on what it is that we're doing. So Chris was able to get an early release out of the service, and in May of that year, and we drove across and relocated.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Your MTV back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.